don't know if this works. Should work.
How do we know if it will work?
Yeah.
Good question.
Want to stop and can we replay right away or no? Is that a process?
If we stop, it's gonna take some time to build out. I think we just go for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Send it.
Kick us off.
Hola y bienvenidos. Es BAMS nuevo.
Sí.
Estamos en Los Cabos, Mexico, a la Gran Fiesta Americana. Hello, everybody. All right, so we're catching you. We got Zintax's wedding coming up in a few days. We're gonna try to keep it shorter because we're in paradise right now. This is sponsored by Gran Fiesta Americana. Come here in the next couple of days and have a good time. Otherwise, we won't see you again here for the rest of our lives. Today, we're doing something a little different because we want to keep it short and get back to the beach, mojitos and margaritas in hand. We're doing a mid-season rankings. So it's just going to be Zintac and I going through the rosters. And basically, this is us saying, we're looking at the rosters, looking forward into the second half of the year. Where do we see everything ranking out? And then that can piss some people off, maybe put some wind in sails. We're going to see what happens here.
That's right. So what we did is rank the teams right now. Tim and I both. We averaged them out, so we have our master list that we're going to start from 12, talk about why we think they're at where we put them, go up to 1, and that should do it. I'm not going to talk about who won last week. If you won and you want the recognition, I'm sorry. We have open bar by the pool waiting for us. Same with Survivor, same with everything else. Just look at the spreadsheet, which is obviously all attached.
I scored 44 points.
Tim scored 44 points, so he's happy that we're not going to bring that up here in the pod. One more time, Grand Fiesta La Americana in Cabo San Lucas. Book 3 rooms by the end of October, and you get a voucher that comes with it that gives you a 50% chance of getting free transportation to and from the airport. It may work, it may not, but do it before the end of October. It's coming up, so it's another good deal that BAMS has been offered. So you're welcome from Hardo and the commissioner. So we're gonna kick things off. Again, we're gonna start at the bottom of the list, which I think is the easiest team that we're gonna be talking about, and that's the Tottenham Hotspurs, the Ben Ford's team. Across the board, we had him at 12. Last 3 weeks, he's averaging 88 points. I don't have the standings in front of me, but he's at the bottom. 2 losses. There's not much to say. I think he's selling off. Did he sell to you, or do we know off the top of our heads here? Nothing. We have a special guest here that doesn't want.
I think that's the sad thing. Someone can stop me right now in the room, but I think that's the sad thing is that he hasn't sold, and that it's just a poor roster. But
there were rumors.
There was a swirl.
High draft picks for Jonathan Taylor.
Yes. So Ford actually, it was a lot of bark, no bite, I think, in terms of him being very active on the text threads, trying to tease some things out. He was peddling Taylor just only a couple weeks into the season. And that value that I think was probably a second round pick continues to plummet. Yeah, that's the breakdown on Ford's team here, is that he on paper went heavy RBs early, and it sounded amazing going into the season. Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris on paper sounded incredible. Indianapolis has just been the weirdest team of all time. They've now in the past couple of weeks just decided to have like Matt Ryan throw the ball 50 times a game. No idea what's going on there. And then Najee Harris was oddly one of the players this year that like every sports betting podcast would say, like, take the under on his rushing total this year, because the O-line was shittier. They knew the QB position was going to be rough. It wasn't going to be Big Ben dumping it off nonstop. So that was it. When you push all your chips into the middle of the table with Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris, everything kind of falls after that. DK Metcalf had a nice little run, the surprise of the Seahawks this year and their passing game, but now he's a little nicked up. Tua has died 5 times, so that's a little shaky. Ford insists on continuing to wear that Tua jersey, which is really just going to get that man buried in the ground in a couple of weeks. So that's what we're looking at here. not a lot more to note. Ben Ford, the unanimous number 12 on this list.
Bonus segment. I know we talked about what we're doing here with the 12 teams, but we got a quick what a game segment. Can we just take a look at the most recent transaction? 10:37 a.m. Kadarius Toney dropped Deshaun Jackson by Groley. Deshaun Jackson. Deion Jackson. It all plays. Just, it's a common theme with Groley picking up players immediately. I think Kadarius Toney was traded at 10:36. And I think Groley was on the beach at the time of this.
Very upset. Connection was not working for a few seconds. Thought someone else was going to grab it.
I mean, we do have to reveal quickly. We do have Groley.
Silhouette with the sun, great lighting. Okay, back to the list. We're gonna go with number 11, and I think this is relatively chalk. I had him at 11, Tim had him at 10, but that's the Hammocks, and another 1-6 team. They're averaging 110 points over the last 3 weeks, which is not the worst, but they have lost 5 in a row, so it's tough to keep them anywhere else from the second from the bottom. Go ahead.
So that they are in 11th place right now, as Ben said. That was a little chalk there, but hey, Marianne's Hammocks, I gave you 10th, not 11th, and we will reveal in the next spot how things shook out. Reason I did that is we just talked about Seattle surprising passing game, just being legit, like a top 10 passing offense, him having Geno Smith. The tough ones are at the receivers for Hammocks here. Drake London and that Atlanta offense just continues to throw the ball less and less. DJ Moore flashed last week, but that is like the only flash of the entire year for that guy. Gabe Davis has been injured. He's boom or bust. And then really it's Mike Williams, who's now out for a few weeks. CEH, who's caught in that 3-headed monster running game. Headlining for him is Christian McCaffrey, which no one can really argue with that. Don't know if it's an upgrade with him going to the Niners and not needing him as much in that usage. So it's my note, like I took personal notes on this. My note for this team was just, that's how I feel about this team.
That's fair. I like it. And we'll stop there with the Hammocks. On to number 10. This is going to be Grohl's. Tim had him at 11 and I had him at 9. I'm looking here why I have him at 9. I think it's because he's averaged 108 points in the last 3 weeks, and I have him higher than me for that reason because I've been struggling.
Was that your pick? As the manager of my own team?
Yeah.
I don't think I deserve 9. Probably should have been 11 or 12.
Well, it's tough when you have the Hammocks and Spurs.
I do somehow have a better record than these worst teams, but I would put myself at the bottom.
That's what played into it. It's the record. It's got to hold a little bit of weight, and so that's why I have him at 9. Tim doesn't have. Well, Tim, I guess his sentiment is in line with Groley's.
Yeah, I think Ben's revealing a little bit of his BAMS methodology of how you have scored over the past 3 weeks. I'm paying attention to who's been buying, who's been selling, who's signaling where their direction is as a franchise. And Groley, defending champ, it makes sense. They're going to have pendulum swings in this league, and he's a seller this year. I figured no one would know this more than the commission next to me, ranking him 9th instead of 11th there. But when you give away ETN, Kittle, and a receiver.
Devontae.
No. Oh yeah. Wait.
ETN,
Mostert. That's a lot of capital that you sacrifice there. So it does leave you with a roster where it's like Jalen Hurts, still the god, still QB 2 or 3.
Also available.
So this guy's peddling Jalen Hurts. He's on the market. He's on the block. But yeah, my note for Groley was Jalen Hurts and guys, because it's Michael Pittman, who us 3 are probably the biggest 3 fans of Michael Pittman, but this has just been, again, the Colts just being so bad. Wan'Dale Robinson should be a nice keeper for you going into next year, but Aaron Jones and that puzzling Green Bay team, and then it's just kind of more stockpiling, backups, contingencies, late round keepers that he'll be able to have some value on going into next year. So in that selling mindset and what has happened more recently after these transactions, that's why I got Groley at 11, but he comes out am I correct? 10th in this ranking.
Yes, yes. By the way, if you haven't realized it yet, why BAMS is so good, this is a great example of how me just giving the bigger picture stuff for this list and then Tim coming in with the details and just picking things apart and giving all the information that you need. It's why we're the best, and you don't need me to repeat that. Okay, so we are on to 9. We got 2 teams tied here. We're gonna start with, so what does that make them? Tied for 8? Is that how that works? 2 teams tied for 8?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, 2 teams tied for 8. We're gonna do Derek's team first.
Change it.
I had him at 6, which could have been interchangeable with my 7th team, but again, I looked at recent weeks, what they've been doing, maybe some matchups against myself, so there might be some bias, but they beat the hell out of me. So I had them at 6, but let's see, they're averaging 116 points over the last 3 weeks. That's 4th in the league. So their team's been performing better than the majority of the league the last 3 weeks. They did lose last week, which tossed them back a little bit, and that's why they're down in 9th place. But I like what they've been doing the last 3 weeks to average 116 points. This has been an incredibly low output as far as fantasy football goes. So I had to give him some credit there. Tim, you were a little lower on him.
Yeah, I had Derek's team at 9. Number 1 is the utter refusal to change the name. So that's never going to curry favor with me as trying to be judging what's being thrown out there. I think my takeaway was looking at his team. It's like, it's just so many players who are extremely talented and are limited by their circumstances. Number 1, it's a Bucs heavy team, and the Bucs are sucking right now. So it's like Tom Brady at quarterback, Chris Godwin at receiver, Lenny Fournette at running back. Lots of issues with Byron Leftwich as the OC there, and it's just bad vibes on that team. We'll see if it turns around. I think everyone has a blind faith that eventually Brady's going to figure it out, but that's a lot of stock bought on a Bucs team that's struggling right now. Deontay Johnson at receiver on that disgusting Steelers team. Ramondre Stevenson, he is breaking out after that Damian Harris injury, but you don't know how much Damian Harris is going to come back into the fold. So really his best player is Travis Kelce, understood tight end number 1, but Darnell Mooney dying on the Bears, Garrett Wilson getting caught up in the quarterback changes for the Jets. So it's just like tons of very, very talented players that are getting worked by what is happening from like an NFL team standpoint. So that's why I had to ding Derek and put him in the 9 spot, but he comes out tied for 8. We're going to talk about that other team that's tied for 8.
Yeah, supposedly, since we're on the Bucs,
Get in here.
well,
I need a beer.
I need to get a beer first.
Give him a beer. He's got something to say.
There was a report today that Giselle wants Tom Brady to retire if he wants her back. So will he retire?
Before the end of the season?
Will he retire mid-season to save his marriage? Who knows? Live from Tampa.
Don't forget, Alex Groy, where do you live? Where are you from?
Tampa.
Sources, folks.
Thank you, Tim.
Reliable.
What a guy.
What a guy,
host.
what a game. All right, we are 2, 12, 11, 10, 9. Oh, we're the other T8 team, tied for 8. And in at 8, this is, oh no, we had one exactly right. So this is our second accurate. So Tim and I were close on this, is the Diesel guys. I'll tell you right now, I had him at 8, Tim had it 7. The reason I had him at 8 is because, how about this? The last 3 weeks, Diesel has put out the lowest average of points, 86 points. Diesel's been an enigma this year. We do good words here. He's a strong team to start out the season, not unlike myself. I see us very similar. I ranked us very similar. And he just hasn't put it together. Tim, I know you can fill in the gaps there with why not with some of his players, but I had him at 8, where he's with the standings. He is 12, 11, 10, 9. He is in 8th place, so that worked out well. Tim has him just an inch higher at 7. Care to elaborate?
Yeah, so we now get into the rankings where I start looking at who are your best 3 players. I'm trying to look at impact on your roster. And that was kind of lacking with the teams that we've talked about so far. So now I start looking into like, who are your top 3? So for him, Jalen Waddle, legit, like top top 15 receiver for sure. He gets Hopkins back after that absence of the first, I think, six weeks this year. So decent at receiver. Problem being that third receiver, Jahan Dotson, not breaking out because the Commanders are dog shit. But we go Deebo Samuel. So Waddle, Hopkins, Deebo Samuel, I think is pretty damn strong at running back position. Saquon Barkley, I think will continue to be top 3 running back. So I think there is a lot of impact talent on this team. That's why I had him a touch higher than Ben, but depth is a little tough here. Greg Dulcich, great mustache.
Dulce.
Dulce, like a pastry.
Estamos en Mexico. Sí.
But he is kind of sitting on and relying on some backups for the RB2 spot. And I've actually noticed that this is his thing. He is always going heavy on receivers. He usually tries to get one top tier running back and then just goes hodgepodge at RB2, which actually has kind of worked out pretty well for him. And I've almost tried to steal that from him. So that's kind of what we're looking at, like really good wide receivers, okay quarterbacks, and then just a little thin at running back. And that's where we bring diesel guys into this other eighth spot that we've highlighted here.
All right. We got another tie, folks. T6, tied for 6. We got 2 teams. And this first one is going to be the biggest spread that Tim and I had in our rankings. And that's going to be yours truly, Commissioner. Tim had me at 2, and I had it at 10. Yes. And I've lost 3 games in a row. Nothing has been working for me.
Can I interject here?
Interject.
He's got you too, because he's with you right now in Mexico. This is all bias. That's it.
Maybe. Thank you. And so I've lost 3 games in a row. Nothing's been working. I think I talked about it on the vlog last week about my average quarterback output the last 3 weeks. I don't think it averages more than 5 points a game, which is a BAMS record. 89 points the last 3 weeks. That is just 3 points better than Diesel, who we just talked about, who is in last place the last 3 weeks. So I'm right with him. It's been miserable, but I'm ahead of 3 or 2 because I do have the 5th most points in the league. So I am hanging around. I have reasons to like my team, but from what I've seen, my performance here, I have myself at 10. Tim, talk me up.
This is hashtag fake humble from the Commish is 100% what this is. He just talked about how many points he has scored this year and that he is towards the top of the list. And this is accounting for like before he made a massive trade and gained upgrades at 3 different positions. So that is why I had the Commish. Again, I had him at number 2 based on this roster as we look ahead. Probably the strongest receiving group. It's close between he and the Fiana, but I mean, T. Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Stephon Diggs is just lights out at the receiver position. Quarterback, you've been ragtag all year. We know that. That's your thing. And you were horribly weak at running back. You got the pump up of Mostert in that trade to just help out a little bit. Dameon Pierce was slow to start, but is just sole RB on a decent run attack with Houston. Tight end George Kittle is that's been the story of this year is you either have Kelsey or Andrews or you're effed at that position, but Kittle being healthy slots into that number 3 spot. So it's just like unbelievable wide receivers, pretty strong running backs, very good tight end. I forgot to mention you got Travis Etienne as well with the James Robinson actual NFL trade aside from the BAMS trade that we have.
Look at my bench.
Then on the bench, DeAndre Swift waiting. Maybe someday his shoulder will feel better, but I mean, I don't know how I just break down what I broke down right there. And there's any question like 10th is insulting. So he's number 2.
As the person that made the big trade with Ben, I initially thought I fleeced him. Recent events have made me very unhappy. I mean, I still got a 3rd or 6th, and most likely a keeper in Fryermuth. But this James Robinson ETN situation has really swung the tides, I think. Evened it out.
Folks, I've lost a lot of trades. You got to take risks, and once in a while you hit. And not to say I have, but I'm enjoying this.
We all know Mostert's on borrowed time. He's got like 1 or 2 games left.
You've had a rough run of trades, but if you are going to hit on a trade, it might as well be the biggest trade in BAMS history.
Thanks for bringing that up. Another tied for 6. Kind of another big spread, but not considering what we just did. Okay, it's King of T Hill. Okay, he's in second place right now. I was high on King of T Hill. I have him at 4th, and Tim has him at 8th.
That's an insult. He's in second place.
He's in second place. Well, let's talk about it. What's he done in the last 3 weeks? Let's keep this thing going. 98 points. He has an average 100 points. He has a great record, and he's going to benefit from that. I have him at 4th, so it's not an insult. 4th is good. He's got the 8th. Yeah, we'll get to that. He's got the 4th most points in the league right now, which is a great position to be halfway through the regular season. And being in second place, obviously at this point, you're starting to think of people on your bye. You're thinking about first round buys that are going to benefit you. So he's in a great position. I'm jealous sitting in 7th or 8th or wherever I am. But yeah, 4th most points. Struggled the last couple of weeks, but I like the team. Tim has him at 8th.
So this is all about the direction of this team. So in the number 2 spot, you would think it is harsh for me to have him at 8. I'm not trying to insult Polanka here. It's more of the direction of what's happening right now. So Tyreek Hill, certified banger receiver. Jacoby Myers, it's been weird with the changing of the QBs there, but like decent. It's just kind of like the Jacoby Myers, Adam Thielen combo doesn't get you completely jacked as his supplementary receivers. Brandon Cooks, solid, but like nothing's jumping off except for Tyreek. And then we go to the running backs. And this is really the distinction here is that the combo of Derrick Henry and Breece Hall was going to be unreal. Breece Hall, dead. That's a problem. So now it's Derrick Henry and Chuba Hubbard, who I think will be falling behind Deontay Foreman with carries on the Panthers. And if you look beyond that, he's now got Ty Johnson, who will be the 3rd running back on the Jets after that James Robinson NFL trade. Naheem Hines, it's all backups at that running back spot. That's why I was peddling some running backs and I traded away to Shea. So that is my problem, is that we are quite thin at running back and not really splashy at receiver. Hawkinson at tight end. It's just, there's nothing that's really jumping off the screen to me here. And that's why I had him in the 8th spot, despite him being ranked 2 thus far this year.
Polanka, to Tim's point, if you need a running back, I have one for you.
Wheeling and dealing on the pod.
Actually, look in your inbox right now. I may have already sent a message trying to create a trade as during the vlog or vlog. What are we calling them?
Yeah, vlog is good. All right, here's the deal. We're running out of time. We have to speed up with these. So we're going to move into 5th. We got one lone by themselves in 5th place, and that would be Hardo. Tim, you had yourself at 4. I had you at 7. You're going to talk about your team, and you're optimistic about the trades, which is definitely justified. I'm going to talk about what the team overall has been doing. You're sitting in 6th place, so you're right on that cusp of the playoffs. You had the 7th most points in the league, which factored into my 7th rating. You've averaged 94 points the past few weeks with no streaks or anything. You lost last week, but that's okay. And where does 94 points sit? You're on the lower end, but again, I have you at 7. You have yourself at 4. Let me know why you're optimistic and you like your chances here at the end of the season.
Well, once again, we're going back to your methodology here. I had a bipocalypse last week. So I had my 3 best players all on bye last week, plus Mark Andrews putting up 1 point. So it's prior to last week, I was the number 1 scorer in the league. So I just had a very bad week last week, and it made sense why I had a bad week. My best players were all out. And you know what that means? Now all of my best players are going to play for the rest of the year. So when I'm looking at my roster that got me into the number 1 point position through the first half of the year, yes, I was thinking I need to evaluate myself into the top half of the league, and maybe was almost self-deprecating going in the 4 spot versus the Commish's 7 spot here. It's a couple of key positions. I have massive advantages at key positions. I have Josh Allen at quarterback, easily number 1 by a wide margin. And then I have Mark Andrews at tight end. Again, you want one of the 2 tight ends, and then it's a massive drop off after that. So key players at key positions with a massive advantage at quarterback and tight end. And then I'm with you everywhere else where it's like, I'm just kind of solid. I'm just solid. Amari Cooper, AJ Brown, Cortland Sutton, just guys that are number 1s on their teams. Nothing too crazy there. AJ Brown's a total stud, but then otherwise it's just guys that don't move the needle or get people pumped, but are just key pieces of their team. And then you probably saw a shit ton of movement from me recently, but now that I've added J.K. Dobbins onto my IR spot, I now have locked down the Jets running back team of James Robinson and Michael Carter. I already had the Vikings running back attack with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. And then, yeah, I've locked down Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. So it's basically like I'm secured for the rest of the year with one of the top 2 running backs on decent run attacks. So again, nothing's jumping off the board, but it's just Josh Allen, Mark Andrews, studs at their positions, and then just rock solid and can handle a lot of variance with everything else down the stretch. I've also done a shit ton of planning in terms of strength of schedule. Everyone that's on my team has been meticulously thought out against who they're playing for the rest of the year.
And that brings us to our next
Hold on,
sponsor.
last thing.
Nope. We have sponsors. We are obligated. Then it brings us to our next sponsor, Masterclass. If you loved that Masterclass of Tim selling us on his team for the remainder of the season, you will love Masterclass. Over thousands of professions and videos of learning something from a pro that really doesn't help you much. Masterclass. What do you got, Growly?
I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. I didn't realize he scored 46.81 points last week. Is that the lowest score ever?
Analytics? Yeah. It is. Full stop.
Hey, he's playing me this week, and I think half of his team is hurt, so maybe he's going to have another low-scoring week.
That was, well, the bipocalypse.
So use it for tonight's game.
The bipocalypse may have something to do with it. It was pretty bad. I've been there. Okay, we're down to 4. 4th place. This is easy. Tim and I both had him at 5. Baloney squeezes.
Not talked about Shaysky yet.
We haven't talked about Shaysky yet. You haven't talked about
I
Shaysky
mean,
yet.
by name alone, Shaysky, he should be like by me at 11 or 12th.
Okay, we're gonna factor that in. I like that. Baloney squeezes number 5. Mediocre last few weeks, but he's winning. I think 5 is good. I think he's in 3rd place right now, so he's been winning. He's 11 in points scored. Hardo is 4th in his ranking. We average him out. The ultimate
Sorry,
ranking.
guys.
That's okay. No, that's okay. That's why we're here. We're figuring things out on the fly. Baloney squeezes number 5. 92 points over the last few weeks. Pretty average. It's low, but we're all low. 11th in points for, but he is in 3rd place right now, which is sitting pretty along with Gangbang and T Hill. So Tim, what do you got? Why is he 5th?
I've been long with my responses. I'll stay short on this one. I think it's just looking at the top players on his team: CeeDee Lamb, Joe Mixon, Zeke. That's what he's got. So there's nothing crazy jumping off outside of that trio. It's a good trio. It's good. That's why I got my 5. But
Zeke is nursing a knee right now.
And Zeke's nursing a knee. I traded him Keenan Allen. He didn't play for a game. Then he played for a game, got 2 catches for 11 yards, and now he's on a bye week.
What a trade.
And Squeezes is still talking shit to me, and I was very excited to see that James Robinson has gone to a team that he could actually play for. So I still think he wins that trade with Keenan Allen, and hopefully eventually that guy stops nursing a hamstring. But that was it. It was just like, yeah, you got some solid players, but that's where he lands, a little bit above average on the rosters I see.
Love it. Kyle Pitts can be dropped. Coming in at 3rd place is, as Growly said, Shaysky, someone with a name on the same level as Derek's red team.
Tottenham Hotspurs.
Or the Tottenham Hotspurs. Not a fan. Growly's not. I had Shaysky at 2, and that was simply because he is just blowing things out of the water here the past 3 weeks. 124 points. He's on fire. I know he's won a week. It may have been the last week. I haven't looked because I don't care right now. But he's on fire. 3 wins in a row. He's got the 3rd most points in the league. Tim might poke some holes in that because he has him at 6 with his roster and some outlook. So what do you got, Tim?
Yeah, I think this team, my takeaway on Shea is like solid. It's just solid. Solid across the board. So QB, he's always going to be in that 10-ish spot with Kirk Cousins. Lockett benefiting again from that Seattle passing game. Chris Olave was a great rookie receiver that he added. Devontae Smith being that number 2 role in the thriving Eagles offense. Like, it's all good. Solid across the board. I had him at the 6th spot. I could have easily moved him 5, maybe 4 max, but it's a good team. Kareem Hunt has been trailing off significantly. And I think that's kind of the key I see is at the running back position. It's Kareem Hunt, Darrell Henderson, who he got from me in a trade. Eckler is that breakout. Eckler's top 3. He's going to be nasty for the rest of the season. Mike Evans at the flex spot for him. But like, yeah, I think this team is solid. He really was thin at running back and just helped himself a little bit with the Henderson trade from me. But I think this is a team where it's just like we have some teams that are top heavy that just have like 3 massive stars. His team is just like every player at every position is a 7 out of 10. So he's just variable. He's multiple, flexible for the rest of the year. I'm just more concerned of like, when is he going to have those peak weeks?
Folks, this is anticlimactic, but we have a tie for first.
God.
We have a tie for first, and our points are 1 and 3 for each of them. So there is no deciphering. We're gonna go. Gosh, we'll go with the Fiana first, not to take anything away. Tied for first is
Wait, I could be the
Fiana.
tiebreaker.
What do you got?
Who are the 2 teams?
Well, it's by process of elimination. It's Fiana and T Gang Bang.
Oh, at the top.
We're gonna talk.
We're gonna go with T Gangbang was number 1.
All right, we'll start with Fiana then. Still tied for first, but the tiebreaker goes T Gang Bang. Talk about anticlimactic. Fiana averaging 119 points here the past 3 weeks. Winner of 2 straight, has the most points in the league. It was a toss up. There was a couple factors that I'll talk why T Gang Bang took the cake for me. But it was 119 points. There's a few teams better than him in that sense. But great outlook, great team. He'll definitely be there. He's got a great wide receiving core that I know Tim will touch on. But Tim, you had him at number 1. Why?
Yeah, and this is Fiana, who was hitting the panic button a couple weeks ago, just based on record, not having faith in the roster that was in front of him, which could have been a very sad story that just lucked out, and he was able to weather the storm there. But this is I would say like an elevated Shea team, where I said like Shea's team is just like everybody is like everyone's solid, 7 out of 10 or like above average all the way down the board. This is like, when I look at Fiana, like this is like greatness almost at every position, in my opinion. Lamar Jackson has struggled recently, but I just think down the stretch, playoff push, they're just gonna let the top down and let him run a shit ton. So he's gonna have a really high floor. Cup and Chase it's just a guaranteed playoff spot for me every year. I look at this team as like the Chiefs. They're just, I'll see you in the AFC championship every single year. Like when you have Cup and Chase and he gets to fucking keep them for one more year after this year, that just guarantees you 2 top 10, maybe top 5 wide receivers on your roster. Lock it in. Christian Kirk, nice depth at the receiver position. But then Kamara, who hasn't scored a touchdown this year, I anticipate that to change, but it's still lead running back on an okay offense. The breakout of Kenneth Walker on Seattle is huge. And without that breakout, that is why he was losing games, and that is why he was looking to sell. But now he is locked in a top 15 running back in his number 2 running back position for the rest of the year. Not to mention flex, Miles Sanders. Look at this fucking team. His only issue is that he had Njoku go down with an injury recently, but it's like, I look at this team and you have massive playmakers at all positions, pretty much all the way down the line. So That's why I had Fiana at number 1, but I understand for the consensus here, he's number 2.
Savvy move by Fiana as well, picking up Kyron Williams, which I know someone here had him about a week and a half ago, and
I
then
can't wait
dropped
for
him,
my roster's too deep.
and then dropped him. I knew that was a mistake, and now the guy that we're talking about is one of the top 2 teams has him on his team. So
Big comment to say it's a mistake and he hasn't been on the field yet, but I get the sentiment. Okay, number 1 is T-Gang Bang. I had him at number 1. I'm going to talk about why he's number 1. Folks, you know I'm a big fan of streaks. I have been a part of a lot of them over the years in BAMS. Let's talk Survivor. Let's talk that win streak I had all the way to the championship in BAMS 7. No one does not know about that. T-Gang Bang has not lost a game in 6 weeks, 7 weeks. It's a 6-game win streak. No one has been near that. He has almost the most points over the last 3 weeks at 122. Sniff and Shay's 124. He's got the second most points. Beat the hell out of me last week and won the $50. That's who won it, not Shay. Shay had won a couple weeks ago. But T-Gang Bang, that was an easy one for me. He's in first place. He's riding high right now. Tim was just as high. He had not just as high, but he was high on him at 3. So Tim, what do you got for him?
So I had him at 3. So understand that. I think it's top quarter of the league team. But I think this is kind of the opposite in terms of why you say, why am I at number 3 instead of number 1? It's a little bit of the opposite of the beyond in that I think this is a team that was fortunate with their record, was feeling their oats and said, oh, I'm at the top of the league in terms of records, so I need to be buying. He was feeling himself. He gets Davante Adams, which, I mean, yeah, that's going to put you over the top. But I still look at this team, and it's like, if you look at the top 3 players, it's unreal. Chubb, Josh Jacobs, and Josh Jacobs just legit already had like great underlying metrics, all of the PFF type stats of elusiveness and stuff, broken tackle rate, all that stuff. It's now marrying with usage down the line. So Chubb, Jacobs, you just lock in 2 top 8 running backs for the rest of the year. Then you get Davante Adams. You're going to be top 5, top 6 at wide receiver. So that top 3, that trio is what gets him in the top quarter of our league. It's going to be a problem all the way down the stretch into the playoffs. But I do look at the rest of the team, and it's like he bought Adams because he needed Adams. Like, I'm not feeling Terry McLaurin. I'm not feeling Jerry Jeudy, who's trying to get traded, won't get traded, will be stuck with shitty Russell Wilson or Mark Rippon, whatever that guy's name is.
But he was exercising up and down the airplane aisles recently.
Russell Wilson was doing high knees down the aisles on a jet recently. And then I do look at the bench. If anybody gets injured on this team, anybody in that top 3 trio, it's Chase Claypool, Duvernay, Khalil Herbert, Josh Reynolds. Like there isn't anybody on this bench that's like ready to break out. So yeah, I see this as a top heavy team, almost kind of like LA Rams of last year of like, hey, if everybody stays healthy, look out for us. We could win the whole thing. But it's a little bit of a delicate balance. And that's why I had to ding them a little bit and put them at the 3 spot. But off of our averages and this consensus here, congrats, gang bang, halfway through the year, we got you ranked in the top spot.
Fun fact: the only team to beat T-Gang Bang was the Fiana in week 1. Possibly a foreshadowing of a championship game.
Love
as
that.
the 1 and 2 teams you guys just ranked.
Bamalytics. This is why we're here, folks. This is why we're here. Fiana, what'd you say? Beat Gangbang. That's his only loss in week 1.
It was not a pretty match.
No, it was a
36 points.
134 to 97. So we'll see.
But he didn't have Davante.
He did not have Davante. Implications. Any last fun facts or anything you got for us?
I've maxed out right there.
Maxed out.
Walked out like a stanza.
You've been quite an asset. Tim, last words.
Love you guys.
Folks, sorry, I know that's the end, but I'm just going to recap. So number 12 is Spurs, 11 is Hammocks, 10 is Grohl's. Tied for 8th is Diesel and Derek's teams. 7th is Commissioner. No, tied for 6th is Commissioner and King of the Hill. Next one down, I've lost numbers, is Hardo, then Shaysky. Then we got tied for 1st is the Fiana, and Growley broke the tiebreaker to put T-Gang Bang in 1st. That's all we have for you. I know this went a little longer than we anticipated. We got a pool waiting for us.
That's probably my fault. I think these things go much smoother when I'm not here.
No. Mas es mas. Hashtag mas es mas. Chicos, Tienen un buen fin de semana y comidan la comida. Sí, no, ¿cómo se dice? Comer. Comen, no, en español. Sí, sí, y bebida y las bebidas.
Camera,
Sí.
I think the camera put on 10 pounds here.
Y buena suerte a los equipos. Sí.
Now this is where we hope the audio tracks, but,
Are you guys sure you turned it off?
No, it's not off, it's still going.
Oh, you can like edit it?
I don't think we ever edited it. Not this year. Just let it ride. Why do you not watch it? Do you not know that?
I
Joking.